Welcome to Cinema Bites.
Wanna get tall, fat? We'll never happen!
Your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. The series begins in 22 years ago in the city of Logetown. The pirate Roger is being put on trial, wanted dead or alive for the crimes and thefts he committed. Colonel Garp addresses the people, telling them that the age of pirates is over, and sentences Roger to death. Roger is unconcerned about dying, sitting there laughing and mocking Garp. At that moment, someone from the crowd asks him about the location of the treasure. Roger keeps laughing and tells them that the treasure isn't just wealth, but power and fame, and that the treasure contains all the good in the world. He tells them if they want to find the treasure, they should search the seas, and they'll find it in one piece, and its name is One Piece. At that moment, Garp carries out the execution and Roger dies, and the whole crowd goes off to search for the treasure. In the present, in the East Blue Sea, we see Luffy, who is passionate about the sea and dreams of becoming a pirate and searching for the One Piece treasure. He's on a sinking boat, gets into a barrel, seals himself inside, and the barrel drifts through the water until it reaches two ships fighting each other. On the first ship, we see the pirate Alvida, who is wanted by the authorities. She attacks another ship and easily kills all the men on board, taking over the ship. Alvida's crew pulls the barrel out of the water, and inside is Luffy. Alvida is searching for the pirate hunter Zoro and asks the captives about him, but the ship's captain mocks her, so she strikes him hard on the head and kills him, then orders her worker Kobe to clean up the blood. That night, Kobe is cleaning Alvida's weapon when he sees a box moving. Luffy comes out, startling Kobe, but Luffy reassures him and tells him he's a pirate. Kobe mocks him, saying he doesn't look like a pirate because pirates are thieves and criminals. Luffy says not all pirates are like that. We flash back to 10 years earlier in Windmill Village, where young Luffy is on a ship and the crew mocks him, calling him a street kid. Luffy insists he's a pirate, making them laugh. He asks Captain Shanks to let him join his crew, but Shanks refuses, explaining that the sea is very dangerous. Luffy goes upstairs, grabs a knife, and cuts himself to get a scar like a pirate. Back in the present, Luffy tells Kobe that as soon as he escapes the ship, he'll head for the Grand Line to search for the One Piece treasure. The Grand Line is extremely dangerous, known as the Pirate's Graveyard, with waves reaching 30 meters and giant sea monsters. Luffy isn't concerned. Kobe goes to help Luffy escape, but Luffy knocks over a pole, making a loud noise and waking the whole crew. Alvida mocks Luffy, calling her a criminal and a thief. She gets furious and attacks, but Luffy dodges her blows, showing his fighting skills. One of the crew shoots him in the chest, but Luffy's body rebounds the bullet, killing the attacker. We learn Luffy's body is rubbery, shocking the whole crew when they see him stretch. Alvida tries to kill Kobe, blaming him, but Luffy takes the blow for him, unharmed, and punches Alvida so hard she flies into the water. The whole crew is terrified. Luffy demands a boat and food, and asks Kobe to join him, which Kobe agrees to. On Shellstown Island, we see the pirate hunter Zoro approached by a man from Baroque Works, who wants him to join because of his unique skills. Zoro refuses when he learns they're mercenaries and criminals. The man attacks, and Zoro fights him, showing his swordsmanship and slicing him in half. The next day, Kobe and Luffy are in a boat. Kobe asks how Luffy's body is so stretchy. We flash back to Luffy with Shanks, who stitches up Luffy's wound. Luffy admires Shanks and wants to be a pirate, but Shanks warns him of the dangers. Later, Luffy finds a strange fruit in Shanks' chest and eats it. At the same time, a bandit and his gang enter the bar, demanding drinks, but Shanks tells them they're out except for half a bottle. The bandit takes it and smashes it. Shanks smiles, grabs a broom, and cleans the floor. The bandit mocks him, and everyone in the bar laughs at Shanks, who laughs along. They call Luffy a coward for not standing up for Shanks. Luffy tries to attack them, but Shanks grabs his hand and discovers it's stretchy, realizing Luffy ate the devil fruit. Later, Luffy asks Kobe what he wants, and Kobe reveals his dream is to join the Navy. Luffy promises to help him achieve his dream. Elsewhere in the East Blue, we see Nami approaching a boat with a small ship nearby. She asks them for help, saying pirates attacked her ship and killed her crew, and she's the only survivor. She claims to have treasure, tries to hide it, but they get greedy and try to open the chest. She tricks them. It's empty. She steals their boat and leaves. Luffy and Kobe arrive at a marine base and eat. Zoro enters the restaurant with the corpse of the man he killed. A little girl offers him rice balls she made herself, but she bumps into a man named Helmeppo, who knocks the food to the ground and yells at her for dirtying his shoes. Zoro gets on the ground, picks up the rice balls, and eats them to preserve the girl's dignity. He asks Helmeppo to apologize to the girl, but Helmeppo mocks him and attacks. but Zoro easily defeats him. Zoro fights the Marines and beats them all. Luffy is impressed by his skills. Zoro is about to kill Helmeppo, but Helmeppo reveals his father is an officer at the Marine base. Zoro decides to go with him to collect his reward and hand over the body, but Colonel Morgan imprisons Zoro for attacking Marines. The next day, Nami wears a Marine uniform and sneaks into the base with the soldiers. Luffy arrives at the base and sees the officer whose uniform she stole. She fights him and knocks him out. Luffy falls into the map room, where he finds Nami and realizes she's not a Marine. They search for the map together, but Morgan appears. Nami convinces him she's a Marine and that Luffy is a prisoner she's taking to the cells. He believes her and leaves. Luffy asks her to join his crew. They enter Morgan's office to search for the map. Luffy grabs an axe and suddenly a secret safe opens. The alarm sounds. Morgan arrives at the door and starts breaking it down. Luffy uses his powers and rips the safe from the ground. They fall out the window. Soldiers attack them and they fight bravely. Zoro sees them and decides to join and help. Morgan arrives. He decides to kill them, and Morgan is very strong and able to knock them to the ground easily. But they unite, and Zoro uses 3 swords, and together they manage to strike him and knock him unconscious. Zoro then goes and takes the safe, and they are shocked by his strength. They all get on a boat together, and Kobe arrives and tells Luffy that he won't go with him, that he will join the Marines. They leave, and then we see Colonel Garp receiving a report about the attack on the Marine base and learns that they stole the Grand Line map. He gets very upset and orders the soldiers to chase them. They find out from a pirate that the one who stole the map is wearing a straw hat. At the same time, the pirate Buggy learns about the attack and decides to chase them. At night, Nami manages to open the safe and takes out the map. Nami is a very skilled navigator and explains the route to them. At that moment, smoke bombs are thrown at them, and they feel the smoke smells strange. Luffy senses danger, swallows the map, and then they lose consciousness because of the smoke. The next day, they wake up to find themselves locked in a box. Suddenly, the box opens and they find themselves in a circus. Pirate Buggy appears and Luffy mocks his appearance and laughs at him for being a clown, which makes Buggy very angry. Buggy tells them that he will become king after he finds the treasure. Zoro speaks and asks the gang to drop their weapons, and he will let them live. But Buggy mocks him and is about to fight him. But Nami convinces him that she can make him an offer in exchange for part of the treasure. She throws Luffy's hat and he uses his hand to grab it, but Nami manages to distract them and escape. When she gets out, she finds herself in a devastated town and is attacked by guards who capture her. We learn that Buggy destroyed the town and the circus audience are its people, whom he has taken hostage, tying their hands and feet and forcing them to clap and laugh at his clown tricks. At the same time, Colonel Garp arrives at the Marine base and learns from Morgan about the team's description. We see Kobe, who has joined the Marines. Then, Zoro and Nami are locked up, and Nami tries to pick the lock. Luffy hears her as he screams, and Buggy is torturing him to tell him where the map is. Buggy takes his hat, which was given to him by Shanks. Buggy knows Shanks well and tells Luffy that Shanks betrayed him. Luffy gets angry because Buggy is speaking badly about Shanks. Buggy then takes a young boy and is about to kill him, but Luffy manages to free himself and lands a strong punch on Buggy, but Luffy loses consciousness. At the same time, one of the gang enters Zoro's cell and attacks him. Zoro had killed Buggy's brother years ago in the Kingdom of Goa. The man spins a wheel and keeps stabbing Zoro with knives. Meanwhile, Garp asks to meet Kobe and sits with him. Garp knows that Kobe is connected to the pirates who stole the map. Kobe tries to deny it, but Garp tells him that people saw him with them and asks him to tell the truth or he will punish him. Kobe tells him that Luffy saved him from the pirate Alvida. Garp realizes that Luffy is the same Straw Hat pirate. Kobe tells him that he wants to join the Marines to save the world from evil, and Garp actually recruits him to the Marines. We go back to a flashback. Luffy is in the bar when the bandits enter again and ask for drinks, but Luffy gets angry and kicks them out. The man grabs Luffy and lifts him in the air, but Shanks enters, very angry, and beats up the man and his gang. They get into a fight and defeat them easily. Then Shanks looks back and doesn't find Luffy. The man has kidnapped him and taken him out to sea in a boat. Suddenly, a whirlpool forms in the water because of a sea monster, flipping their boat. The monster eats the man, and Luffy starts drowning. But at the right moment, Shanks arrives and saves Luffy. Then the sea monster appears, and Shanks gives it a fierce look in the eye, scaring it away. Shanks is happy that Luffy is safe, but Luffy discovers that the monster ate Shanks' arm and feels very sad for him, but Shanks doesn't care. We return to the present. Luffy wakes up locked in a glass tank filling with water. Buggy tells him his crew abandoned him and asks him to join, but Luffy refuses and tells him he'll never find the map. Buggy gets angry and increases the water flow. Buggy knows the hat is very precious to Luffy and keeps cutting it up. Luffy is about to drown, but at the same time, Nami manages to get out. attacks one of the pirates, and frees Zoro. Nami throws her stick at the tank, breaking the glass, and Luffy gets out and retrieves the map. Luffy goes to get his hat, and Buggy takes the map and attacks Zoro, but Buggy dodges the attacks and splits his body into pieces, surrounding Zoro and Nami. He knocks them to the ground. Luffy lands a strong punch on Buggy, but nothing happens to him. Buggy splits his body again, throws the pieces at Luffy, and knocks him to the ground, strangling him. The team gets an idea and starts hitting the body parts and locking them in boxes. Buggy can't reach the rest of his body and he becomes very small. Luffy lands a strong punch and throws him out of the tent. Afterward, they free the hostages. At this time, Garp has tied up Morgan and punishes him for failing to protect the map, telling the soldiers he will chase the pirates himself. Luffy is saying goodbye to the village, but the village chief comes and offers him food. Luffy refuses, thanks him, and leaves. We return to the flashback when Shanks decided to leave with his crew. He thanks the villagers for their hospitality, but notices Luffy sitting alone, sad. He approaches him to say goodbye and tells him he will become the greatest pirate, gives him the straw hat, and asks him to take care of it before leaving. Nami later repairs Luffy's hat, and he is very happy. Nami takes a snail out of her safe, which is a communication device or phone, and contacts someone to tell them she has the map. The scene changes to Syrup Village 7 years ago, where we see the child Usopp warning people that pirates are coming, but no one believes him. He always wishes someone would believe him. In the present, we see Usopp grown up, warning people again, but they know he's tricking them as usual and that there are no pirates coming. At that time, Nami is studying the map, and Zoro comes out to tell her the boat is leaking. She checks on the snail and finds it dead. Luffy tells them they need to steal a big ship to reach the Grand Line, and Nami tells him the nearest stop is Syrup Village. At that time, a monster enters Buggy's place and tells him that the pirate Arlong wants to meet him, but Buggy refuses and is attacked. The monster lands a very strong punch, knocking Buggy to the ground and making him lose consciousness. We return to the crew arriving at the village. Luffy doesn't want to steal, and he sees a beautiful ship. Then Usopp appears from the ship. Luffy asks to buy it, but Usopp tells him it's not his to sell. Usopp offers to take them to the ship's owner, explaining that she's very wealthy and a dear friend of his. When they arrive at her mansion, the guard yells at Usopp, and the crew learns that Usopp likes to lie. At that moment, Kaya appears. She loves Usopp's stories and adventures, though he's always deceiving her with his tales. Usopp introduces her to his crew, and Kaya invites them to dinner. Later, they're in the dressing room, each picking out clothes. At the same time, we learn that Kaya is ill, and tea is the only drink that helps her. Klahadore takes care of her, and Kaya thanks him for his attention, telling him he's more than just a head servant. He's her best friend. Meanwhile, Garp grows fond of Kobe, brings him closer, and lets him play a game of intelligence, which Kobe wins. Garp sees great potential in Kobe and becomes very fond of him. Later, Kaya welcomes her guests, and Zoro thinks Klahadore looks familiar, saying he's seen him somewhere before. They sit down to eat, and Luffy asks Kaya to give them the ship so they can defeat the villains and fulfill his dream of becoming king of the pirates. Promising to take care of the ship, Klahadore becomes very angry and throws them out, but Kaya asks them to stay the night since it's late. At the same time, Garp learns there's a wrecked boat on Syrup Village's shore. He orders the soldiers to form a team and go to the village, appointing Kobe as the group's leader. The next day, Klahadore meets with Mary, Kaya's lawyer. Klahadore wants to transfer the ownership of the shipbuilding company to himself, but Mary insists on speaking to Kaya first. Klahadore refuses, and Mary says he won't let anyone take advantage of her and won't do anything without hearing it from her. At this point, it's revealed that Klahadore has supernatural abilities. He can disappear, reappear, and move at incredible speed. He appears behind Mary and kills him. At night, Luffy moves around the mansion, meets Zoro, and they look for food. Meanwhile, Nami sneaks out and steals from the mansion. She hears someone coming, hides in a room, and finds herself in Kaya's room. Kaya realizes Nami was stealing but is very kind, lets her take what she wants, and they start talking, becoming good friends. Luffy sits with Usopp, asking about Kaya, and Usopp tells him she's his best friend. When her father died, she became ill, and Usopp wants to stay by her side and take care of her. Suddenly, Luffy realizes Usopp is the son of Yasopp, a pirate from Shanks' crew. Luffy tells Usopp about his father's adventures, making Usopp very happy. Then, Luffy finds some food, which turns out to be the princess's special Tito. They eat it all, and Zoro and Usopp go down to the wine cellar, where they find Mary's body. Suddenly, Klahadore appears. Zoro remembers him as Captain Kuro, the notorious Black Cat Pirates captain, wanted by the law. They fight, but Klahadore disappears. The maid sneaks up on Zoro and knocks him out. Usopp manages to escape, and Klahadore orders the servants to get rid of the bodies. The servants take the bodies and Zoro's swords to a well to eliminate any evidence. Usopp reaches the village, trying to warn the people that pirates have arrived, but no one believes him. He finds Kobe and the other soldiers, and Kobe says he believes him. Zoro wakes up in a deep well next to Mary's body. Usopp tells Kobe what happened, and Kobe learns that Luffy is in the mansion and heads there. Meanwhile, Nami finds Luffy unconscious and realizes the food was poisoned. She hears Klahador's voice, hides from him, and overhears him ordering the servants to throw Luffy into the well. At that moment, Kobe knocks on the door, meets Klahadore, and says he's looking for Luffy. Klahadore orders the servants to bring Luffy. Usopp tries to convince Kobe that Klahadore is an evil pirate, but Kobe doesn't believe him. Luffy appears, unconscious, and Klahadore says he drank too much. Usopp goes to warn Kaya, but she doesn't believe him. Nami knocks out the maid and renders her unconscious. Klahadore orders the servants to kill Kaya since it's midnight and she has come of age. Time to seize her fortune. They lock the mansion doors and try to imprison everyone. Nami enters, tells Kaya that Klahadore has been poisoning her slowly for years to inherit her wealth, and Kaya finally believes her. They escape, and Kaya tells them there's a wheel to open the doors in her father's room. Klahadore searches for them, hears Kaya coughing, and stabs the wall with knives. Luffy wakes up, sees Kobe, and asks him to go back to save Kaya. Helmeppo points a gun at him, but Zoro appears behind him and knocks him out. They return to the mansion to save Nami and Kaya. Kaya hears Klahadore's voice, and they hide from him. Luffy and Zoro arrive and manage to get inside. Klahadore taunts Kaya, making her and Nami furious, and they attack him, but he suddenly appears behind them and captures them. Usopp tries to defend her but is struck down by Klahadore. Meanwhile, Zoro fights the servants in a fierce battle. Klahadore is about to kill Kaya, but Luffy grabs his hand. Klahadore stabs Luffy with a knife and disappears, but Luffy focuses, locates him, and lands a powerful punch, knocking him down. They fight, but Luffy dodges the attacks, grabs Klahadore's hand, uses his head, and delivers a strong blow that sends him flying out of the mansion. Usopp is amazed by Luffy. Zoro defeats the servants. Kaya gives them the ship, thanks them for saving her, and Luffy asks Usopp to join his crew. Usopp agrees, says goodbye to Kaya, and they set off. Luffy is happy to finally have a ship and a strong crew. Meanwhile, Kobe apologizes to the captain for failing to capture Luffy, but returns the captain's glasses. Kobe sees Luffy's ship and thanks the captain for forcing them out to sea. Suddenly, a missile is fired at Luffy's ship, and they see the Navy soldiers attacking. Luffy takes the glasses, sees Captain Garp, his grandfather, and the ship is hit by a missile. Luffy decides to attack the soldiers. The captain fires another missile at him, but Luffy uses his powers to send it back at the Navy ship, breaking its sail. He asks Nami to increase speed and get them away from the soldiers. Luffy smells food, and there's fog, so he can't see anything. Suddenly, he sees a giant ship where there's a party, so they go to eat. We see a chef yelling at his worker and making him go out to work in the dining hall. The worker, Sanji, comes out and sees two people about to kill each other. He tries to calm them down, but they're about to fight, so Sanji attacks them. He's very skilled in combat and knocks them out. Then, we see the captain talking to the pirate Mihawk, asking him to help capture Luffy. It's clear that Mihawk is very strong and uses his sword with great skill, even able to cut the ship with his sword. After that, Luffy and his crew finish eating, and Sanji asks them to pay. Luffy takes the bill and signs it. Then the chef comes out, calls Luffy, mocks him, and asks him for the money, but Luffy tells him he'll pay when he finds the treasure. The chef takes Luffy to the kitchen and makes him wash the dishes. At night, Nami sneaks to the bar and asks someone to take her to Konomi Islands. Someone overhears her and tells her he can take her for 6,000 berries. He asks how many people, and she tells him she's alone. They agree to leave at dawn. Meanwhile, Kobe and Helmeppo are cleaning the ship and ask if Kobe knows someone called Mihawk. Helmeppo tells him Mihawk is the strongest swordsman in the world, the best to ever use a sword in human history, and that he was one of the 7 warlords of the sea. At the same time, Sanji is talking to Luffy, telling him he's the best cook in the East Blue, and that Chef Zeph is jealous and doesn't want anyone to cook better than him. Sanji's dream is to reach the All Blue, a sea full of fish and spices no one has ever seen, and that every cook dreams of going there. At that moment, a man comes in, tells them he's very hungry, and Sanji decides to help him. The man eats, and Luffy asks Sanji to join his crew, telling him he's looking for treasure and adventure. The man interrupts, saying he was searching for it too, and that he was in the Navy fleet, but the Grand Line killed them all. They lost 50 ships and 5,000 men, and he's the only survivor. He advises them to stop searching for the treasure. Usopp is telling his adventures at the bar and mentions Luffy's name. Mihawk is next to him and asks to meet his crew. They take Usopp and introduce him. Zoro realizes this is the pirate Mihawk, who is looking for Luffy. Zoro challenges Mihawk to a duel to the death, saying his dream is to defeat Mihawk and become the greatest swordsman in history. Mihawk agrees to meet at dawn. The crew is very worried, but Zoro tells them this is his dream and he'll never give it up, as it's a promise he made to his childhood friend who died, and he must take the title from Mihawk to become the best swordsman ever. Nami takes the map and leaves. At the same time, Zoro is preparing for the fight. Nami reaches the boat but hesitates. Zoro arrives at Mihawk, who draws a very small knife, just the size of a cross. He starts fighting Zoro with it, manages to hit and knock him down. Zoro gets up and tries again, but Mihawk dodges the attacks and stabs Zoro in the shoulder with the small knife. Zoro never gives up on his dream and insists on fighting again. Mihawk is impressed by Zoro's determination and decides to fight him with his largest sword. At the same time, Zoro draws his third sword, and they clash. Mihawk breaks Zoro's swords, and Zoro stands up, resigns himself to death, and Mihawk strikes him with a massive wound. Zoro is bleeding heavily and loses consciousness. Mihawk treats and stitches his wound. After that, Mihawk is with the captain, telling him he won't capture Luffy, as he wants to see what happens to Luffy when he enters the Grand Line. Garp gets very angry and starts breaking things in the room. Meanwhile, Luffy is talking to Sanji, who tells him that 9 years ago, there was a ship in the East Blue, and he was a young cook. A group of pirates attacked them, and Chef Zeph, who was a pirate at the time, saw Sanji's cooking skills and was very impressed. There was a storm, the ship sank, and the whole crew died except Zeph and Sanji, who were stranded on a rock for 50 days. Zeph saved Sanji's life and gave him food. Zeph had 2 bags, one small and one large. Sanji wanted the big one, but Zeph yelled at him and forced him to sit on the other side of the rock, saying he never wanted to see his face again. Sanji survived for over 50 days until his food ran out. When he went to Zeph, he found Zeph's bag was still full, but when he opened it, there was no food. He was shocked to discover that Zeph had cut off his own leg and eaten it to save food for Sanji, believing that young people always deserve a chance. Since then, they've been like family. At that time, the captain tells Kobe that Luffy is his grandson and that he tried many times to make him join the Navy. But Luffy always dreamed of being a pirate and refused in every way. At that moment, Arlong goes to the restaurant. People are very afraid of him and his strange appearance. Zeph confronts Arlong, who claims he owns the East Blue, but Zeph mocks him, saying the sea belongs to no one. Nami overhears him asking about Luffy. She goes to Luffy and tells him to leave the restaurant, but Luffy refuses and decides to protect the place. Then, Luffy goes out and meets Arlong, who mocks him, thinking he's weak. Luffy asks how he found him, and it turns out Arlong's assistant is Buggy's head. Luffy is surprised how he found him, and suddenly Buggy's head pops out of Luffy's hat. We learn that Buggy was eavesdropping on them. Arlong asks for the map and orders Luffy to bow before him, but Luffy refuses and mocks him. About to fight, Zeph appears from behind and shoots at Arlong, but it doesn't affect him. One of Arlong's gang punches Zeph hard. Sanji attacks the pirates, but the monster is very strong and knocks him down. Luffy intervenes, but Arlong grabs him by the arm and throws him far away. Luffy gets up and manages to punch Arlong, but Arlong laughs, unaffected. Arlong grabs Luffy with both hands, hits him, and throws him out of the restaurant. Luffy gets up again and fiercely attacks Arlong, but Arlong knocks him down. Luffy is very brave and undeterred, gets up, uses his abilities, and knocks Arlong down, but Arlong tricks him, splashes water on him, grabs him, and is about to kill him. Nami calls out, telling Arlong she has the map. We learn Arlong is the person Nami was talking to at the beginning of the series and is working with him. Luffy is very upset that she betrayed him. Arlong throws Luffy into the water. Luffy can't swim and is about to drown, but Sanji saves him at the last moment. Then Luffy goes to Zoro and tells him what happened, feeling very sad and desperate, and suddenly Zoro wakes up, which makes Luffy very happy. Zoro promises him that he will never abandon him and will stay by his side until he finds the treasure, fulfills his dream, and becomes king of the pirates. Luffy decides to chase Nami. Meanwhile, Buggy is guiding Usopp on the way, and Zoro goes to him and threatens to kill him if he deceives them. He puts him in a box and locks him up. Luffy is now very concerned about Nami and feels she's involved in something, but Sanji reassures him. At that moment, Usopp calls them and tells them there's an island ahead. It's Konomi Island. We see Nami gambling with some men and winning. This is the island where she grew up. She goes to a house, enters, and hands over the map. She learns that Kokoyashi Village is late in paying the tribute. This is her birthplace. She's asked to go and collect the tribute from them. At the same time, Garp arrives at the restaurant and meets Zeph, asking about Luffy, but Zeph tells him he doesn't know anyone by that name. Meanwhile, Luffy and his crew arrive at Kokoyashi village, where the houses look strange. They see the village mayor collecting money from the people. Nami arrives to take the money from the mayor, but runs into her adoptive sister, who hates her very much, can't stand her because she's a traitor, spits on her, and walks away. Nami takes the money from the mayor and leaves, but she runs into Luffy and his crew. Luffy asks if she needs help, but she tells him she'll never be part of his silly crew and asks him to leave her and her village alone. Luffy feels she's not speaking from her heart. Luffy then asks the mayor about Nami. Zoro speaks to him and asks for a reward for capturing Arlong. The mayor tells them there are people much stronger and bigger than them who never managed to defeat Arlong. He tells them where Nami's house is, so they go there and meet her adoptive sister, Nojiko. She tells them that Nami is a thief and a con artist. Luffy learns that she's her sister. Sanji offers to cook for her, and she tells them a bit about Nami. At night, Arlong is at a party and Nami brings him the box of money. Then, Marines barge in. Knowing about the chaos he caused, Arlong gives them money, but the captain wants double. Arlong's expression changes, and he asks them to go with him to the meeting room to discuss their issues. Meanwhile, the crew is eating with Nojiko, who tells them that when Arlong attacked their village, her mother hid her and Nami under the house. They heard Arlong demanding a tribute of 100,000 berries for every person. Their mother gave everything she had, but Arlong saw 3 plates on the table and asked about the number of people living there. She tried to deny it, but they were about to kill her. The girls came out, and Arlong wanted 50,000 berries for each of her daughters. Since their mother didn't have it, she sacrificed herself and told him the money he took was her daughter's tribute. She said goodbye to her daughters, and Arlong killed her. The crew is deeply moved by the story. Luffy goes outside and sits down. Zoro joins him. Luffy keeps defending Nami and wants to know why she deceived them. Meanwhile, Arlong is talking to the captain, negotiating a price. Nami enters and tells Arlong she has collected 100 million berries and asks if he's ready to fulfill their agreement. He tells her to bring the money at sunrise. Meanwhile, Kobe and Helmeppo are talking, and Kobe learns that Luffy's grandfather is the captain. The waiter overhears and tells them Luffy was at the restaurant. Kobe tells the captain where Luffy is, and Garp orders the soldiers to set a course for Konomi Islands. At this time, the crew is preparing to attack Arlong and his men. Nami is digging and finds a box. Her sister sees her, attacks her, accidentally hits the box, and it breaks. Nojiko sees the money and gets upset that Nami buried the money in their mother's grave. Nami tries to explain and tells her the whole story. We see a flashback of Nami as a child after her mother died, going to Arlong to ask to join his crew. She gives him a map she drew, which impresses him. Nojiko learns that Nami joined Arlong to free her village in exchange for 100 million berries, and is surprised she managed to gather the amount. She realizes Nami was helping them and sacrificed herself for the whole village, and their relationship returns to how it was before. At that moment, the colonel enters and sees the money. Nami realizes Arlong was the one who reported the money. They take the money from her and leave. Nami chases after them but can't catch them. She sits down and starts stabbing the Arlong gang tattoo on her shoulder. But Luffy appears, grabs her hand, and she asks him to help her. He goes to his crew, and they prepare to attack Arlong. They see fire and realize Arlong attacked the village and betrayed Nami. The next day, they arrive at the village and find it destroyed. The mayor, Nojiko, and the villagers arrive, knowing that Nami sacrificed herself for them. The mayor decides to join them and fight alongside the villagers. Meanwhile, the captain and Garp meet, and Garp informs them he will attack the village. At this point, Luffy and his crew throw smoke bombs at Arlong's gang. Luffy and Nami head to Arlong's room, while the rest of the crew fights the gang in a fierce battle. Zoro manages to kill many of them. Luffy reaches the map room and takes the Grand Line map, but Arlong enters and puts his sword to Luffy's neck. Luffy grabs the sword and breaks it with his hand, telling Nami to leave. Arlong tries to grab her, but Luffy punches him. Zoro is fighting the gang, exhausted from his wound, but pushes himself to keep fighting. Buggy's head is in a bag with Sanji, and Buggy senses his body is nearby. He asks them to release him, promising to help. They take his head out of the bag, but as soon as Buggy finds his body, he escapes and leaves them. Meanwhile, Usopp is running from a monster, tricks it by playing dead, and the monster leaves. Usopp calls it back, shoots it, and burns it. Luffy is fighting Arlong and manages to land a punch that makes Arlong bleed. At the same time, Arlong's assistant strikes Zoro and knocks him down. Sanji attacks, but the monster delivers a very strong punch and throws him far away. Arlong provokes and mocks Luffy. Luffy gets an idea and starts destroying the house, which angers Arlong a lot. Arlong grabs Luffy and slams him into the wall, and the house is about to collapse. Meanwhile, Sanji attacks the monster, lands fatal blows, and knocks it out. They see the house collapsing and are very worried about Luffy. Luffy delivers very fast punches to Arlong, throws him far away. Arlong charges at him, but Luffy uses his superpowers, lands a powerful kick with his leg, breaks the floor, and the house collapses on both of them. Nami is crying, thinking he's dead, but suddenly Luffy comes out and everyone is overjoyed that he's alive. At night, the village is celebrating, and they're very happy to be freed from Arlong's tyranny. Usopp is sitting, telling the villagers about his adventures, and they're enjoying them. At that moment, the Marines enter, surround them, and Garp orders the soldiers to arrest the crew. But Kobe refuses to obey the orders, and the soldiers point their weapons at them. Garp reproaches his grandson for not listening to him and not becoming a Marine. But Luffy says his dream is to become a pirate, and he'll achieve his dream no matter what. Garp asks him to surrender, but he refuses, so Garp decides to fight him. Luffy tries to punch him, but Garp dodges and hits him with a powerful blow, knocking him to the ground. The captain attacks Luffy, but Luffy manages to escape. The captain is very strong. He hits Luffy and breaks a wall with him. Luffy gets up, grabs onto the houses and charges at him with force, but the captain hits him and knocks him to the ground again, then grabs him. Luffy tells him he will achieve his dream, and no one will ever be able to stop him. His grandfather laughs, remembering the laugh of the pirate Roger, and lets him go. He orders the soldiers to lower their weapons and tells them to chase Arlong's gang because they are the real criminals. They obey his orders and leave. The captain objects to Garp's orders, so Nami hits him on the head and knocks him out. Garp leaves, telling Luffy he just wanted to test him and see his true strength, and that he was teaching him to rely on himself, then lets him go. After that, Kobe goes to Luffy and gives him a picture. Luffy sees his own wanted poster and is very happy that he's become a pirate and achieved his dream. He hugs Kobe and says goodbye, then goes to the ship and shows his friends the poster. Zoro tells him that from now on, every pirate hunter will be after him because of the big bounty on his head, which is 30 million berries. But Luffy is very brave and doesn't care. At the same time, we see Kaya, who is now fine, seeing Luffy's wanted poster and is very happy too, reassured about Usopp. Zeph is also happy about the poster and hangs it in the restaurant. We see Buggy, who sees the poster and is very upset about it and wants to kill Luffy. Alvida joins him, and she's still alive. Then we see Mihawk meeting Shanks and giving him Luffy's wanted poster. Shanks is very happy and asks his crew to celebrate. The crew is on the ship, and we see the new Straw Hat crew emblem. They continue their journey to the Grand Line, all gathering on the deck, and each one says the dream they want to achieve. With that, the first season of One Piece ends.